Croeso all, welcome back everyone to Fearless in Devotion, the Wrexham AFC podcast, sponsored by the Fat Ball Bar and Kitchen. Much like last week, Andy, I'm not going to be able to go through them all. Can anyone shout some more out, Liam? You're a frequenter.
There is Effie's, obviously the Mice Gwyn. There's the Buck in Bangrondy. There's it's the Croix Howell, isn't it, in Flag?
Yeah, that'll do.
Yeah.
That's enough. Yeah, go to all of them. They're great. But a mixed weekend, would we say, or generally a good weekend, I think.
Oh, mate, it's a good weekend. What more do you want? You want the moon on the stick?
Well, we could have scored a winner in the last 15 minutes, but anyway, we'll discuss the
That,
game.
that point's turned out to be a very good point, I think.
Yes, it has, hasn't it? But it would have been even better if it was three, but still. Let's speaking of the Mice Gwyn, we'll have some more reaction from our Fearless in Devotion live event, which we think was a great success last Friday night. But first, I'm reliably informed. Sources tell me there's some big newsletter news.
I sort of touched on this last week that I was trying to cut a deal to get you guys it for £15 to start, and there you go. If you scan that, hopefully you will get the £15 deal. It's going to run till April, which means that you get it for a year at £15. It will go up after that, but I'm hoping you might sort of think it's worth it, and it might be worth carrying it on. So it's all about a bit of a taster before it's like selling drugs, isn't it? You get the first bit for a little bit, and then once you've got the taste, we bump up that price. But even that is still less than a whisper a week.
And you get the moon on a stick. Apparently. Yeah. So happy days.
At least 2 whispers a week.
Yeah. No, I mean, how much? I mean, it's £1.20 for a whisper in my in my vending machine now, and apparently that's subsidised.
Do you have a vending machine in your house?
You got a vending machine
at work.
Okay.
I don't have a vending. Well, it's like they won't let me have any chocolate unless I pay for it at home. Tim, newsletter's good, isn't it?
It's very good. Yes, it is. We tear our hair out most weeks going, wow, what should we put on this bit? And we just, the creative juices flow. And if you like the fanzine, which a lot of you did, then you're getting a lot more on a more regular basis. So it's good stuff. So we plenty of little tidbits from the live event to tease before we release the actual final audio and visual of it.
I should say, Tim mentioned the live event there. So on Friday night, we had our most recent installment of Fearless in Devotion live. How did it go? Liam, did you enjoy yourself?
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed myself. Hard to know what to pick as a highlight, really. We got to have a bit of a chinwag with the CEO, Michael Williamson, and Director of Communications, Rob Faulkner, beforehand. So that was quite nice. They really good. They went on first because obviously they had a bloody busy week. And safe to say they answered pretty much every question we asked them. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. Mark the Beast Crichton was in imperious form, frightening Andy Gilpin. He was shaking on his little seat. And Brian Flynn, just a true one-off. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyable night.
And Tim, for those who weren't there, we will be releasing it soon, won't we?
Yeah, I mean this will be episode 199, so it seems quite pertinent to put it out as the 200th episode. Pretty big deal on the guest front, pretty big deal to reach 200 episodes. So we're going to keep it for that. It was professionally recorded. So yeah, we want to make it look good and sound good, and hopefully you'll get to see it in all its glory. Not just Michael Williamson and Mr. Faulkner, but the rest of the guests we had who were all very, very good value for money.
You know what? We were going to try and live stream it, but we thought, well, we'll give it to you guys for free, especially because it's the 200th episode. It's a thank you for like sticking with us through oh god, nearly 4 years of this. But yeah, so thanks for that. It's going to be a bumper episode. We're going to have to warn you now. It's going to be probably going to come in around about 3 hours by the time we top and tail it. So you need to be warned about that.
You could drive to Swansea and listen to it the whole way.
Yeah, it's probably going to be segmented in it. We'll probably just do Williamson as the 200th, and then we'll do the others after that.
200A and 200B.
200A, yeah. Yeah.
All right, no, that could probably save a lot of people. Anyway, we're going to have a 200 week,
Yeah.
of Fearless and Devotion specials, with Williamson being the first one, and it's worth it. It's worth hearing him. It's worth listening how personable he is, how he wants to do the best for Wrexham. Now, some people might
Give it
say,
a rest, Andy. Climb out of his bubble for
no.
Wednesday.
Well, I was about to say, some people may say that his answers are short on detail, but he's a CEO.
You couldn't possibly comment.
Yeah, he can't give us everything. There's some stuff which obviously he has to sort of for club for club business. He can't sort of just spill the beans on everything. So I admire the fact that he took on every question and tried to answer it as best he could.
To be honest, when you think about all the things we asked about, we do ask for a lot. It's like, oh, Michael, we're going to have a new cop, and then can we have a renovated Yale stand? And then, oh, by the way, can we have a training ground and an academy on top of that? And then you think, oh, yeah, Jesus, the guy's spinning quite a lot of plates. So I think that's one thing worth bearing in mind.
We also want 2 strikers, by the way. That's a non-negotiable on
Brian Flynn has given Phil Parkinson the name of 2 strikers who he says will get us promoted, but he wouldn't tell us who they were.
Was it that fireman from Tennessee?
I hope it was.
I thought that was you. Wasn't that Reece? That was Reece Griffiths.
I am
wasn't it?
not from Tennessee, mate. Take that back.
What was everybody's main takeaways from it though? Because a lot of other people, it's one of those when we do it, I kind of almost forget what we chatted about because it's a bit of a blur. So other people obviously commented who were there, but without giving away a million spoilers, what was the main kind of key things?
Main one for me. Main one for me is a training ground that we're not close. Is what I've worked out on that.
Yeah.
And I know he has to get the cop done first. But if you look at the training ground, all right, getting cop done means an instant return for the club. That's something that you can put in the balance sheet and look, right, okay, we built this. It cost XX millions, but we're getting 5,500 people in the stadium, extra people in the stadium than we would have without a cop. So I can see, checks and balances that makes sense financially. What doesn't make as much sense is a training ground, because you'll be probably dropping a couple of mil on it, and straight away you're not going to have a big return on it, are you? Now, obviously in 10, 15 years time, it will have paid for itself through training, helping us develop players and sell them on a little bit. But in the sort of short term, it's a tougher sell if you're trying to get money to build that rather than the cop. So I do understand.
Saying 2 of the speakers, though, did say that they think that should be a priority. So Brian Flynn and Mark the Beast Crichton both said, when you get into this level, training facilities are important. And if you're having to go from the ground, get changed there, blah, 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 it's not optimal for a team in League One or Championship. So that's worth chucking in there as a balance.
No, I know. As a football sort of priority, yes, of course it is. But as a financial priority, and he's a CEO, not the manager, then it's not as important.
Can I ask, was there a reason given as to why one has to be done first? Is it a cash flow issue?
More spinning plates by the sound of it, I think. Too many spinning plates.
Do it properly, you've got to have a complete sort of overview of the cop, and then you move to a different major project, because they are major projects. What other club in the world has to, or up and coming club has to go through so many hoops to sort of get us back to like even a League One level? That we have to get a new stand, we have to get a training ground at the same time. It's almost like Championship Manager or Football Manager sort of levels of.
Yeah, the timeline was, though, spades in the ground cop, as it wasn't cop finished, and then we'll start looking at the training ground. It was spades in the ground on the cop, and then we'll start looking at the training ground.
Okay. Interesting.
So that's May sort of time.
Tim, were there any highlights for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, I think people were quite happy with the way they came across, because, again, to my knowledge, that was their first proper kind of, open to the elements, exposed to the fan situation since they've been in post. Both seem to be enjoying it and really getting to grips with everything that's going on. But yeah, I just think, it was interesting what he said about ground capacity.
Tim, I believe you've accidentally muted yourself.
Oh, what a twat. Never mind, sorry. Where was I up to? None of that.
Ground
Basically,
capacity. I heard ground capacity.
ground capacity. Yeah, I don't know what happened then. A ghost in the system. 28 to 32,000. I think they were mentioning with kind of the retrofitting idea around, the Wrexham Lager stand and the Stoke Cold coffee and so on and so forth. So elements are there to be explored. But yeah, I was a big fan of. You mentioned something. He was very, very complimentary, Michael Williamson, about Phil Parkinson. How he finds him one of the most amenable, easygoing, hardworking, diligent, attention to detail kind of managers he's ever encountered, really. And in the same breath, he kind of mentioned Roberto Mancini, who'd obviously previously worked with. Was it Milan? I'm assuming it would have been Milan. I think.
Milan, I would have said, yeah.
So, yeah, and then later on, in the sort of so-called green room, Michael Williams said, I've got this voice message from Roberto. I was like, oh, Roberto Mancini, yeah. And he played it me, and it's quite weird to hear Roberto Mancini say Wrexham. Quite a sexy Italian accent's got to be said. Just the way you sort of draw that into Wrexham. Beautiful, beautifully done. That sounded a bit Transylvanian vampire. Sorry, Roberto. Didn't mean for you to come across like
Apologies
that.
to all of our Italian listeners.
But no, on the whole, it was great, and we've done another one. We've got another one lined up. It's already sold out, so that's a bit crazy, isn't it? 24th of April.
Tell people
done.
Even they can't come, but tell them when it is anyway, just to rub it in.
Well, 24th of April, which is the 2 days before the last home game of the season versus Charlton. It's like off the back of the Easter weekend where we've got Blackpool, and I think we've got Rotherham Friday and the Monday. But there is people have mentioned we maybe do 2 days in a row. I don't know how conceivable or likely that. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
Be like Oasis.
One last shout out for the podcast
Residents.
event to Brian Flynn discussing Ben Tozer's weapon. That was one of my personal highlights.
That was really, really good.
That is a good story. It's worth listening to the Flynn one just for that story.
All right, great.
Can somebody remind me can somebody just remind me whether Susan Boyle thing came back into it? I can't remember what was about. You mentioned
he said that I don't want to ruin that, but that's another great anecdote. But just think of how Susan Boyle introduced herself when no one really expected her to do anything, and think of a player who did exactly the same.
You've just almost mentioned about 3 seconds ago, but yeah, all good.
Well, anyway, let's stop talking about the live event because those who were there may have noticed I didn't make it. So it must have been rubbish. Unfortunately, I had to work away and was traveling back. I was traveling back while the game was on Thursday night. So I saw it in fits and starts. I couldn't watch the last 30 minutes. I was following online. Good result in the end. Obviously, I think, Birmingham was such a good side that we got to take a draw. But Liam, a little bit disappointed we couldn't get it over the line, considering we played so well by the sounds of it in the last in the second half in particular.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't fault the way the lads played at all. I mean, we created a lot more chances than we have in recent weeks. The first 10 minutes was really good, really decent atmosphere, really good pace. Got that first goal where, at the time, I thought the Birmingham player had been fouled in the build-up to the goal, but then when you look back at it, he actually got robbed the ball quite easily, and Rathbone's finish looks better every time you watch it, especially the reverse angle. Just curled it perfectly into the back of the net. Then, I don't want to say the defending was disappointing because Birmingham looked like they'd really been practicing on corners, and we all know the type of players they've got, but we switched off a bit, and the rest of the second half sort of was a bit of a damp squib. But then the second half, how we didn't score another goal, I'll never know. I think the best opportunity was when it looked like it was about to land on Stephen Fletcher's head, and then just at the last minute, Birmingham defender just nicks it off him. If it was going to happen, that was definitely the moment for me. But I don't think there was many people who left too disappointed. I think everyone was just heartened by the fact that that's one of the biggest league games we've played in a long time. We didn't shame ourselves whatsoever, quite the opposite. Could have won it, and Max Clough had a £15 million player in his back pocket. So plenty to be proud of, plenty to hopefully build on now as we move forwards.
Andy, were you there?
I was there. I came up for that, mate. I think the caveat to the second half display is when, look, we had Mullin and Fletcher on, and I think we really were able to take it to them for the last 30 minutes. Now, there's a lot of talk about Lee and Palmer. Are they actually a goal threat? And I'm going to be honest, they're not much. They're decent players, and they put a shift in, and they absolutely tire out centre halves. But are they a goal threat? Probably not. But what they do is create a platform for people to come on later, and it is a squad game. We do have 7 subs. We are allowed to use 5 of them. So it's not just a like a 13-man game now. It's more than that. So that's our tactic for the last couple of months. I think is to keep it tight for 60 minutes and see if we can nick it late on. And it's worked for us a few times. Fletcher especially has been very good at coming on and finding the space when defenders are tired. And I think that's what happened again on Tuesday. Sorry, on Thursday. It's now about getting the balance right. It's now about being a threat for 90 minutes, and whether that be changing who we're playing and who we're starting, or bringing someone else in. I think that's what we really need to do, because this tactic works if we're not 1 or 2 goals behind. But when we are, like in Barnsley, it doesn't matter how much the Alamo we do, because we'll always be shooting dead, really. I think that's what the next level we need to find is. We're good defensively. There's a lot of energy in midfield now. Can I just say, I thought Dobson was fantastic on his return. I thought he was brilliant. I would give him man of the match, even though Rathbone did very similar, but got the goal. It's just up front where we just do not have that balance right at the moment. And as willing as Lee and Palmer are, I mean, I forgot what's Palmer's goal record this season. Is it 1 or 2 goals? I mean,
Does Marriott coming back solve that?
Maybe.
Or potentially solve it? Yeah.
Does potentially solve it, yes. But he's going to need a few more weeks to get right up to speed before he's starting. And so, it's not instant. And I do think they still need to bring someone in. I really do. I'd like to, but I'm a greedy bugger. But look, we all sort of said Shrewsbury, when the Shrewsbury lost, should we, like some of us were even saying, like, should we sort of prepare for the playoffs? Look, Huddersfield lost, right? It's been a perfect weekend for us, other results wise. We got a good draw against Birmingham, won't have to play them again. Wickham didn't beat Northampton at home, and Huddersfield lost at home. It's in the balance again, right? We're only 3 points behind Wickham now. If we go in and they've just lost their manager. If we can go in and get a couple of strikers, and don't worry about, he's played all season, or, he's been a good servant to us. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that with Palmer, with Mullin, with even Marriott. You've got to go and try. This could be our best chance to get out of League One. We've got to go and give it. We've got to try. The club is not in a perilous financial position. We can go out there and we can get someone, and it won't break the bank. Or
Devil's advocate, though, Andy, what happens then when we've got to the Championship and we don't really have a training ground? We don't have another.
I'll deal with that when I'm in the Championship. I mean, look, Championship, it would be different. Absolutely. No one would expect us to go up again. Championship is about survival. It's about a team that has got a good morale and a winning attitude, being able to get enough games to keep us in it for a couple of seasons while the rest of the club catches up. But I would much rather jump ahead and get to the Championship and build around us than build everything around us and then think, right, how are we going to get into the Championship? Because we've had a great season so far. That doesn't mean we will next season. Remember Morel, when we had the 92 point team, we couldn't buy a win the season after. It doesn't matter, just because you've got a good core of players doesn't mean you'll go again next season. You can't guarantee that.
Out of respect for Andy Morel, I'm going to point out it was a 98-point season. Don't take those 6 points away from Andy. Is everyone else pumped up? I'm pumped up. Let's go. Let's go up. Tim, are you pumped up?
I am. Sorry, it was Andy's diatribal answer there. Kind of got lost in the mix. What's the question again?
I don't know. I was asking if you were pumped up, but instead, tell me about the atmosphere, because that sounded superb.
Yeah, it started well and it ended well, and in between it was a little bit meh sometimes, off and on, but it was really good. It was really good. It kind of matched the occasion for what it was, really, and it was good to kind of really put them on the rack, because maybe bar 1 or 2, the amount of arrogance and confidence coming from the Birmingham camp was probably unlike anything I've seen in a long time. I mean, yeah, they're top, but they're supposed to be 20 points clear and won the league by now, if you believe them all at the start of the season. And for them to kind of not respect Wrexham's home record, not just this season, but over the 4 years, is they'll respect it now. That's for sure. You know, they know that they've escaped with a point, and they can pinpoint stuff as, you know, we're missing two key midfielders. So what? Doesn't matter. That's what a squad game's all about. You know, if you've got the squad depth, use it. And if your backups are that good, then you win the game. But they went, so they didn't. So I enjoyed the match. I think it was great. I think it really it probably put a lot right of the wrongs from the Shrewsbury game. You know, I think if we're anywhere near the levels that we showed at Shrewsbury, win that at a canter, and we didn't. So it was night and day between those performances on the Thursday nights. The Hollywood Derby thing was quite funny in it, the way they bill it, but it was just really good, and I think it shows that we can go to toe with supposedly the best team in the league, and absolutely give them stuff to think about. Yes, they've got games in hand. Yes, they got, is it 5-point gap on us? Still got to win those games, it has to be said. And yeah, all the results yesterday kind of went our way with Huddersfield losing and Barnsley losing and Wickham drawing. So yeah, it's you know what, there's plenty of football left to be played for sure.
Oh, Reece,
You're
you're
on
on
mute.
mute.
I've done a Tim. I'm joking.
Don't blame me.
And we've got two nice games coming up, potential for 6 points, dare I say it, but we can discuss that later in the podcast. Sorry, everyone. Before we move on to signing news, Andy, Dan Scarr was back in the starting 11. How did he get on?
I thought he was a little bit rusty. Now, when the set plays, they were dangerous. They were hitting the back post, and it was catching us out a little bit. Now, Mark Crichton knows more about this than me, and said that Scar was being blocked, and he thinks that's part of why we were so sort of fragile at the back for set plays. He said Birmingham players were doing a lot of blocking, and it needed the captain to say, "Ref, come on here, don't let this happen again." And it happened twice, and the second time it happened, Birmingham equalised. After that, we sort of got to grips with it. I think Scar, he's a big lad, and it's going to take him time to get back to the sharpness. Especially, he's coming against Birmingham. That's a hell of a, you know, he had a lot of quality front men to deal with on Thursday, and also, you know, at the middle of the back three, you'd have to do a lot of organising, and if you haven't been playing for the last couple of months, that could be quite hard. I would keep him in for
Me too.
Yeah, for Stevenage, because I think it's going to be an aerial threat from them anyway. That's how they play. So I would definitely keep him in. And I know one thing I would say is Max was fantastic. He was brilliant, and I don't know if that is Scar in the second half telling him a little bit more where to go and what to do. Having that experience and that big lumping beast next year might have helped Max a little bit as well. I thought Tom O'Connor was good as well, and you know, I've been a little critical of his displays over the last couple of weeks, but I thought he was decent against Birmingham. I do sort of wonder, like, those two defenders, will they get better as they go up the leagues and don't have to deal with the massive physicality, but have to deal with quick, nippy, clever strikers? Are they more suited to that?
Yeah.
To that.
We have to mention James McLean. We've got to mention James McLean because obviously he rolls his car in the Wrexham fog on the Wednesday. And we've all seen the cars, all done the rounds on social media. It's beaten up. It's a write-off. You know, he's got out with that with, I think it was a bleeding arm or some sort of cuts and bruises. I was a bit unsure whether he was going to make the squad, if I'm honest. You know, we all, the sort of musky, the pains and strains or something like that, that high impact sort of collision. And then he's probably, for me, probably one of his best performances for us ever. Not just this season. I just thought he's proper on it, focused on his game as opposed to the histrionics. And I just thought he was really good. Like Liam said earlier on, his cross for Fletcher, you don't get many better crosses like that at this level.
Yeah, I was amazed he made the starting 11, to be fair. And Andy, you're his biggest fan. He played well.
No, he did. He did. I mean, to say a bit, I wasn't a fan of him last season. I actually think he's improved in many aspects of his game this season.
Like a fine wine.
Yeah, all I would say about James McLean is, look, if you're a player and you've got a bit of a knock and you're thinking, oh, I don't know if I can make it today. Well, look at James McLean. He's been in a car crash and he comes back, makes training later that day, then goes on. If you're looking about someone who wants to lead by example, well, there's James McLean. Go match him.
We had an interesting insight from a communications perspective. We asked Rob Faulkner what his first thoughts were, and he didn't quite say it, but it was like, "Oh, fucking hell, Jimmy!" Basically, they said they were in
oh, fiddlesticks!
they were in a meeting somewhere, and they had a call to say it happened. And they're like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!"
I think that wasn't it. Like someone came into the meeting and said, "I've just seen one of your players. He had a smash outside the golf club," and they all went, "Oh, I wonder which player it was." And then everyone just thought, "It's going to be McLean, isn't it?" Yeah, and it was the most controversial person that could have happened to. It definitely happened to.
Let's move on because there's been some news this week. We have signed a player, Ryan Longman. Liam, can you give us the lowdown on him?
From what I can see, we've actually got a player with a bit of pace on him. Pacey, I want to say pacey winger, but actually, if you look at where he's played his career, it's very varied. He's played as a striker, he's played on the wing, he's played as a wing back. He's a bit of your sort of Parky Swiss Army knife type player, a bit like I don't want to say Liam McAlinden because not that I dislike the guy, but he never quite fit in. But it's that sort of can play different roles. I'm interested to see is he thinking of playing him at wing back in one of the wing back positions? I mean, I'd be surprised if he plays instead of Barnett, but I think it sounds like he can play out on the left and cut in on his right. So it just sounds quite a useful player to bring on. Offers quite a bit of attacking threat. I saw a goal he scored for. Well, I've seen a few goals he scored for Hull and really decent quality of player. Not necessarily worked out for him at Hull, but he had a really good spell. I think it was last season with Millwall on loan. So at the age of 24, he's already got over 100 championship games under his belt. So for us to pull the wool out from under Oxford and sign him over them has to be a good thing. Gary Rowett at Oxford was really keen on getting him in. He's worked with him before. He really wanted to get him in. So it feels like a bit of a coup that we've actually managed to pull this signing off. I just think the question is, where do we see him being played? Because I honestly don't know right now. Could he be played in a sort of number 10 Elliot Lee type role? Andy's shaking his head.
Tell us, Andy, where's Parky going to play him? Or is he not going to play him?
No, I mean, Parky might do his normal thing of not playing for 6 weeks and then slowly introduce him into the side where he'll become like a mainstay, like a la Rathbone. I can see him playing on the left wing back. And I wonder if he's going to move James McLean inside and maybe add a little bit more to that midfield. You've got a bit of everything there, haven't you? And if Longman likes to cut inside, well, him and McLean could even swap and have a good little sort of triangle there, maybe. So I wonder if that's going to be his sort of natural place. And also, you've got to think a couple of steps ahead, haven't you? James McLean has done well this season, but he is 35. He might have said to them, look, while I might not retire at the end of the season, I might want to go back to Ireland and maybe have a couple of seasons there. So, they might be thinking that Ryan's the long-term replacement for Jimmy there.
Tim, any thoughts?
Surely Parky can't drop another £500,000 on a player and not play him a la Mo Fowl. So I think in that respect, he's going to have to chuck him in. I think I agree with Andy. I think McLean will be pushed further up. And we'll see what happens. But I'm happy we've got one in over the line. And there's a couple more supposedly in the mix or in the frame. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, £500,000 apparently from Hull, 24 years old. 2 years. Was it until the end of the 26-27 season we got him for?
Who else has been in the frame then? So I've heard Asgard again, that maybe we're battling a few championship clubs for him. Stoke maybe. I've also heard Sam Smith, who's a striker at Reading. Michael Smith's gone a little bit quiet, hasn't he?
Are we signing the Smiths, Ali? Is that what it is?
Yeah, we're going to get Alex Smith back.
Christian Smith.
Dennis Smith's going to be our new centre half, actually.
Do you remember the contract for Rory?
Sorry.
Do you remember the contract for Ore? They were Christian Smith and a couple of the players were like discussing their contract negotiations on Facebook.
Oh, Jesus. No, I don't remember that.
No.
Yeah, and it kicked off a bit.
I mean, this Sam Smith fella's got 24 in 53 for Reading, and he's originates in Manchester, so there may be some sort of pull for him to come back to his roots. Who knows? Alan Mullin.
He's a good fisher, them as well.
Back onto Mo Farl. I'm gutted about Mo Farl because I just been dying to hear the chant, whether it's Mo Farl or Tim's rebel yell.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe he
One
heard
day.
it, or maybe Parky heard it and put
He's
keep him on
heard
the
it and
bench.
it's turned into yeah. All right.
I feel sorry for him because you don't want to see any player kind of come in with a massive price tag on their neck and not really take off, and he just hasn't. And yeah, I don't even know what to say about it at the moment.
Yeah.
Sorry, before we move on, Cawley Woodrow is another main name that won't go away. So he's a guy, Cawley Woodrow.
How are you spelling Cawley?
I'm spelling Cawley. Well, Wikipedia is spelling Cawley. Cauley. So he made his debut for Luton in the conference at 16. Went to Fulham. Didn't really work out for him there. Went to Barnsley where it did, and he was very, very popular. Went back to Luton, and so he's played 60 games for them. He's only scored a couple of goals, but he's been playing in the Premier League and the Championship. So he's 6 foot. He's 30. He could be an option. I like the fact
Give him £1 million right now. I'm sold.
Well, you're sold on 63 games and 3 goals.
Yes, sounds like a proper Wrexham player.
But what I would say there is, look, I quite like the fact we're not putting all our eggs in the Michael Smith basket, because we all know, what's the name of the guy we never signed from Bradford? Andy
Cook.
Andy Cook, that's it. We don't want another Andy Cook, do we?
We don't want another
Sue
Cook.
Mayo again. So look, it's good that we've got 2, 3, 4 options to go for. I think we are looking at a first choice centre forward instead of Palmer. I think that's what we're looking at.
The number 9, isn't it? Basically,
get John Daddy back. Get Big Daddy back. He's tearing up for Burton.
We're a great club, aren't we, for strikers, from the perspective of play for us and then go and play for your next team and score a boatload of goals.
Yeah.
Is that on a serious note, Andy? Does that show that the way that Parky has the team set up at the moment makes it difficult for new players to come in, and in particular new strikers to come in, because they don't get an awful amount of service in terms of goal scoring opportunities?
I don't think it's a service. I think it's the minutes that they get. They don't get a lot of minutes, and so you can't build a head of steam until you get the minutes. Even Marriott didn't get the minutes until the start of the season. He started well, and then the confidence flows through them. Look, we're never going to be a team that creates a striker 6, 7, 8 chances a game. That's not really going to happen. You're going to get 2 or 3 chances from us, and it's about you taking one of them. And now, that's why for me, Palmer's goal record hasn't been brilliant, but has not really concerned me, because he does bring others into the game, and I think we scored a lot more goals from midfield this season than we have before. So that part of the game is working, but let's be honest, you want your first choice centre forward to be scoring, don't you? That's a pretty much a prerequisite.
In an ideal world, yes. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. There was also some contract news this week. Jacob Mendy and Marriott as well offered new contracts. Tim, good bit of business still. Sorry, Tim. I've come straight back to you.
I've obviously had to dial in on my phone because
that's better. We can hear you now. Go for it.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. My internet is having a massive hissy fit. Marriott thing, I'm not surprised by. Mendy contract news. Did you cover that when I dialed out?
No, we're just picking up on it now.
Okay, yeah. So Marriott, you can kind of understand, because obviously he started the season on fire. Informed striker, no great surprise. He's back in the fold now after the leg break. So yeah, to have him, was he signed until end of 25, 26, I think, with the option of a further year. So savvy business by the club. Um, and yeah, I'm happy for him. You just got to hope that he can kind of pick up from where he left off. We don't want to expect too much too soon, but we'll see what happens with it. But yeah, happy for him. Slightly surprising by the Mendy one, if I'm honest. But I'll see what you guys think of that. I'm not entirely convinced that is he going to see that much more game time? He's not a lot.
Well, especially with Longman signed now as well.
Mm.
He's going to find it difficult, isn't he?
Well, yeah, I just think it's a bit of a strange one. Suddenly we're just sort of handing out contract extensions a bit like confetti, and some I think are more deserved than others. But look, he's the manager. He's got an idea of what he's going to bring to the team, and yeah, well, I just think it's a bit odd. So unless he's thinking, right, we've got him tied down to a longer contract, same with Palmer, so we're going to get some money from him. If anybody's going to come and buy him, then at least there's that insurance policy backup. So
yeah,
that's the only thing I could think of, really.
Moving on, Sam Dalby, slightly interesting turn of events. So he will be staying at Dundee United. And he's already shaking his head in can't tell what that is. Is it disgust? And then we've also had a statement from the club which says Wrexham offered the player a new contract before the winter transfer window opened, and that remains on the table for the player. Andy, what are your thoughts on that?
Right, tough one. I don't really know where to begin on this. Look, if he came back, I would be sure that we're not signing anyone. So I wonder if they kept this decision right to the end because they're pretty sure that they're going to bring someone else in. If you bring Dalby back and then bring in another one or two strikers, that's not fair to Dundee United. But more than that, it's not fair to Sam Dalby, who's having a good season. This could be a career-defining season for him. Just to have that confidence, as I mentioned earlier, about a striker who starts well and continues that. It can be a game changer. Gary Bennett did it for us. It wasn't a great goal-scoring record anywhere else, but came to us, scored goals, and it made him. And this could be the same season for Dalby. So in an ideal world, maybe, yes, he does accept a new contract with us, has a storming season with Dundee United, is on the radar of most Scottish Premier League clubs. And if it doesn't work out for him here, he goes there and we get some money for him. That should be the ideal thing. I suspect that Dalby will have a good season. He scored against Rangers today. I think someone like Aberdeen will pick him up for maybe nothing at the end of the season, and we might have just played someone into form and got him a good contract somewhere. Fine. But he doesn't owe us anything. No. We don't owe him anything.
And good for him as well. Liam, any thoughts?
I think that, I'm surprised we didn't try and sort of test them at all in terms of seeing if Dundee United would bite and actually, try and make an offer for him. I don't know from what, their fans have said that they've got the money necessarily to go out and do that, but I did slightly expect us to try it. For the player, I think it's good for him. He's very much the master of his own destiny now. He can play out the rest of the season, carry on in the run of form he's in, and maximise, his offers really once the summer comes. I noticed he scored against Rangers today, albeit Dundee United lost 3-1 in the end. So it seems to, things seem to be working for him there. I wonder if the offer of a new contract is, do we get compensation if we've offered him some form of contract and someone else buys him in the summer? I don't know.
He's 25 now, isn't he? I think that runs out at 24. But let me, let me check.
Yeah, so it's an interesting situation. I suppose the thing is that if we had brought him back and tried to get some money, they are literally the only club who would have come in for him because of him having played for so many teams. So maybe it was a bit of a risky tactic from that perspective. But I think it'll probably I'd be surprised if he's with us next season. I think he's now going to take his career to the next level in his own way, whether that's in Scotland or wherever it is. Good luck to him, to be honest. I don't think any of us begrudge him his success whatsoever, quite the opposite. So fingers crossed for Sam that he gets a decent move in the summer.
Yeah, good luck to him. Tim, do you have some thoughts you wanted to share?
I just think it makes us look a little bit amateurish, if I'm honest. You offer a player a contract, but then allow him to stay out on loan. It just seems a bit weird to me that.
Maybe all
And
will
I think,
become clear, as Andy
well,
says, and sign a player in the next few days. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, we all just assume that Harkey he's just out of favour. He's gone out. He's not been able to promise him the game time he wants. He's now got the game time elsewhere. Why on earth would you suddenly offer him a contract? Is it purely because of his form? If it's purely because of his form, you get him back. So it doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Hmm. Did you ask the CEO about it?
No, because I didn't know about it at the time.
Okay, fine. It broke afterwards. Fair enough. Right, it's time for everyone's favorite time of the week, YouTube, if you want to. This week's
All about this.
this week's comment of the week comes from @JustMyFish, who says, "Three blokes talking about nothing." Well, this week, Just My Fish, you have four blokes talking about nothing, so enjoy that. And that's it for this week's YouTube, if you want to.
Best one yet.
Did you
Liam,
check? Did you check out that guy's channel, by the way?
I didn't. Should I?
Oh, mate. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's just weird. It's basically got him. He must be like whatever. What's a person who looks after aquariums? Would it
Troy
be an
McClure.
aquarium? A what?
He likes African
McClure.
fish.
He just films fish in a tank. They're weird.
Hey, it takes all kinds, my friend.
It does.
But good for you, Just My Fish. Thank you for listening. Liam, it's time now for the Randall Roundup. Take it away.
Yes, it's that time of the week that everyone loves and looks forward to. It's the Randall Roundup. So fresh in at number one this week is the news that, shock horror, the FA has blocked the four Welsh EFL clubs.
Oh, hang on. Can we do this the opposite? How many you've got, and
Fuck
then
off.
count this down? So,
Why?
like, in at number 5.
Stop
so you
ruining my
end on
segment.
the best one.
Where's your segment? Where's your segment? I don't see the Gilpin segment. It's him going, "Oh, I've got a newsletter code. Do you want it?" So stop messing with my segment. Get your own and F off. Right.
Stop messing with my segment.
Yes. EFL.
Yeah.
FA board have blocked the move for the four Welsh EFL clubs to take part in the restructured FAW League Cup. No surprises, I don't think, to anyone who's been observing it. I think the rationale makes sense. I'll read the statement out. I've got it here. I was all ready. I was all happy about my segment, and then Andy Gilpin was born, and everything went south. So they've said that they took on board the request, undertook for a consultation, and invited submissions from the Welsh clubs. But following careful consideration, they've taken into account equal opportunity for clubs to participate in competitions for the same roads on an equal basis, concerns regarding competition integrity, fixture congestion, and player welfare, and the impact on the standing of existing competitions, and they've subsequently rejected the request. It was noted that it was open to the Welsh clubs to choose whether or not to participate in the English or Welsh system based on their own assessment on the merits. But if they choose to participate in the English system, they have to do so on the same basis as English clubs. I think for me personally, no major surprise there. And I saw a few people grousing about, oh, well, the English FA would say that. It's like, well, yeah, they would, because that's their number one priority is the English clubs, and if we want to be part of that system, I do think there's people were saying about having your cake and eating it, and that was my main thought on this whole plan. It sounded nice, and the FAW put out some quite optimistic spin on it, but I don't think the result was ever in any doubt, was it? Anyone shocked?
No, and it's not biting the hand that feeds you either, as well, a little bit, isn't it? Can't get too uppity.
Yeah.
We got every right to be there, obviously, but if we start demanding that which is not what was happening, but I think some people acting outraged over it is like, well, come on, this was always going to happen.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, I don't think it's. I mean, the FA is literally there to protect the English system, so to hear them reinforce that isn't a massive surprise. Moving on to a bit of more off-field news, there was the announcement this week that Kayleen Allen has moved onto the board of Wrexham FC, and at the same time, Humphrey Carr I think he's now a non-executive director, but responsible for community community endeavours, which I think from listening to Humphrey speak over the last few months or year is probably not a big surprise, because I think he wanted to take a step back from the more, I suppose it was more of a conduit role, being the go-between between the US and UK, and he doesn't really need to do that now that Michael Williamson's in place as well. You've got someone who I think can quite comfortably do that. So he's quite involved in projects such as the Miners Project. So for him to get involved in the community side seems to be a good fit. Interestingly as well, Sean Harvey has moved over to a non-executive director role. We spoke to Michael Williamson about this at the event, and I think his explanation was basically that, yes, Sean will be, I think, less involved in the day-to-day. It was never really his intention to be involved quite as heavily as he was when he came in, but he'll obviously still be there. You know, he's a font of knowledge and advice. He knows how the EFL system works, so he'll obviously still be there to provide assistance on, I suppose, what you'd might big ticket items and things like that. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes. I know Colleen was there with her dad, Eric, on Thursday night. They were up in the owner's box, along with Eluned Morgan, the First Minister of Wales. Wasn't too much else on the celebrity sightings, but I think, is it Brendan Sklanner? Have I said that right? Right name, the actor?
Emmett Scanlon.
No, the guy from who was on Brendan Sklanner, who was in The Last of Us with Blake Lively.
Emma Scanlon was there.
No, it's Brandon Sklanner. He was there. So there was a bit. It was quite low key, to be honest, in terms of, I think people were expecting the whole sort of Tom Brady and both the owners thing, but no. One of the things I was actually going to mention as part of all this is Rob McElhenney has been able to get back to his home now in LA, and all seems to be well, which is good news. So he was in the Cosm venue in LA to watch the game, and I believe they raised some money for the LA Fire Department as well, which is, you know, clearly been a big help during the difficult last few weeks. So that's a bit of good news as well. And Birmingham's owner Tom Wagner was in the turf, and he put money behind the bar for Wrexham fans. There was a few blokes who sit behind us who said they'd had some whiskies on his pay, so they were very happy with that.
Fantastic. And does that conclude the Randall Roundup?
Yeah, it does. That was a very polite way to end it, Reese. No, you didn't sort of interrupt and, you know, interject then like some people would.
Dream.
I loved it. I love that. I particularly loved you reading the whole statement from the FA.
It's because I'm nothing if not comprehensive and thorough.
Love that.
It's as good as your diatribe earlier.
Moving on from the Randall Roundup, everyone's favourite part of the week. Some sad news. Obituary for Dave Gaskell, a goalkeeper, former Busby babe, and someone who made Wrexham his home after playing at Manchester United. Well-known player from the 70s. Tim, do you have anything you'd like to say about Mr. Gaskell?
It's one of those, isn't it? It's like, it's always sad when you sort of hear the passing of a player that served the club so well, even if it's like long before my time. But the fact that this guy played in every game bar one match during the promotion season, I think it was 69-70 off the top of my head, because now I've shifted to my phone, I can't actually quite read it. But yeah, he passed aged 81. Anybody who's a promotion winner for Wrexham is a hero as far as I'm concerned. Doesn't matter what era it is. So yeah, everybody who knows him from that area said he's just a really top fella, top goalkeeper. I think he's Manchester United's youngest ever player.
That's some.
Yeah.
My old man actually knew him a bit, because after his football career, he was involved in Wrexham Rugby Club quite a lot. My dad had a really interesting sort of full circle moment. My dad's from Bath originally, but he said he started supporting United as a youngster after they won the FA Cup final and Dave Gaskell was in goal. Then many years later, when Dave was about the age of 40, they played together in a Rugby Cup final at Cardiff Arms Park.
Oh, wow.
And he said Dave Gaskell never liked to tell how old he was, but he said he worked out later that Dave was still playing rugby at the age of 40, basically, in this cup final down at the Arms Park. And then they later played together at the Cunliffe bowls as well. So Dave is a real sporting man, proper northerner, sort of no nonsense bloke. And he had some good heckles as well. If people ever bowled up short, he would say they were shorter than the shortest person on the team, basically. He'd just chuck their name out there whenever that happened. So yeah, he was a really nice bloke, decent man.
It's a great quote from Arvon Griffiths in this article in the leader. It says he was a real character and I had a lot of time for him. Dave was just the kind of player Wrexham wanted. He was a very good keeper and he was a hard man too. He'd punch with one hand and get the striker with the other. That's what you want from every keeper, surely. But yeah, rest in peace, Dave, and commiserations to his family. Clearly a very well-loved man who had a great innings. Let's move on to the two games we've got coming up before the next podcast. So Wrexham are home to Stevenage and then away at struggling Crawley. Surely, as I mentioned earlier, a great opportunity for 6 points.
Well, you go first, Reese. Tell us how we're going to get that 6 points.
Okay, I'll go first. We're going to beat Stevenage at home 2-1. And then we're going to draw away at Crawley 1-1. It's a great opportunity. Doesn't mean we'll do it. I'm hoping to be proved wrong. Andy, do you want to go next?
Yeah, you know what? I think we are going to do it. I think we're going to beat Stevenage 2-0. I know they had a really good result away at Barnsley, but I think we've got a bit more threat from all departments than Barnsley, and I think we'll beat them 2-0. And then away at Crawley, I do think we're going to win. I do think we're going to win, and I think I think if you look at Crawley's form at the moment, they're not great. Though they've lost their manager early in the season, they lost a lot of players that made them so good last season. And we win there last season, Tim, or was it a draw? Remember when Cannon got sent off?
I think we won.
Yeah, I think we'll win again. I think we'll win again, and I think that might be a little bit less. So a 3-1 because we're going to score more goals. We're going to score 5 goals in 2 games.
Okay,
that's what's going to happen.
Good, great. Yeah, we did beat them last year 1-0. Ollie Palmer with an early goal and Cannon red card in the second half, but we held on. Tim, prediction?
Stevenage, I think, will beat. I'd imagine you kind of still got to treat it with a bit of caution because they managed to beat Barnsley at Barnsley at the weekend, which is something we failed miserably to do, despite our second half efforts there. So
maybe
I imagine
hand them 2 goals, Tim.
Well, yeah, maybe, yeah, but we hopefully won't have that problem if Scar continues on Tuesday. A little bit unfair, but anyway. So I'd imagine Parky went to that game because he's a workhorse and he loves to scout himself. So I imagine he went there to keep an eye. I think we've got to beat him. I think it's going to be almost similar mirror image to our first ever National League game where we pumped them 5-0. And it was, yeah, they were still called Stevenage Borough then, weren't they? But it won't be 5-0. It'll be 4-0. So by the time we let the handbrake off and had a proper thumping of somebody at home, and they'll look at the Birmingham game and just go, look, do that for one half, and you'll be outside by half time. So
you've just done the Stevenage team talk. Well done.
Oh, no, we'll give them the team talk. No, if anybody
hitting Tim up on the wall.
Yeah. Yeah, Stevenage, most famous sons Lewis Hamilton. They're not listening to us. So 4-0, and I think Crawley. Are they still being managed by Scott Lindsay?
No, I think he left. But didn't he go to MK Dons?
Did he?
Yeah.
Rob Elliott is the current manager.
Yeah, the guy from Gateshead.
Never heard of him. We're going to batter them.
I don't. Crawley kind of always makes me nervous, but I think, look, we've got to sort these away day woes out. So let's crack on. So I reckon we'll sneak a cheeky 2-1 there last minute. So yeah, let's have 6 points, 4-0 and a 2-1. Thanks.
All right, can I just the last couple of Crawley results. So right, if we look at, they lost at home to Birmingham, they lost away to Leyton Orient 3-0. They drew 4-4 with Exeter City. They lost 3-0 at Barnsley. They drew with Burton. They lost at Stockport. They're not in a great run of form. If there's any team we can go away and beat away from home, and I said this about Shrewsbury, then it's it's Crawley. I just think I think we will have too much for them, and I think this is the start of the season where the squad really comes into play, and we've got a great squad all the way through. The teams like Crawley are going to have suspensions, they're going to have injuries. Now's the time for us to capitalise on that.
Let's do them. Liam, thoughts?
My predictions are very similar to yours, Reese. I think we should be fine at home against Stevenage. Not saying it'll be easy, but I do think we've got more in the tank up front. I think we'll win 3-1. And the thing is, we keep saying, oh yeah, if we can just get going away from home, and but it hasn't happened yet. So if we're gonna go for, stick to type, I think, you could end up with another 1-1 draw. So that's my prediction for that one. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope we finally do a team away from home, but I just haven't seen the evidence to suggest that we will necessarily.
What a incredibly perceptive prediction, Liam. Well done, you. I agree. Right, any final thoughts before we say goodbye, everyone? Thank you for listening.
2 shout outs. One to Shrewsbury for being 7 points adrift at the foot of the table. Happy days. And secondly, to John Daddy Bodvarsson for absolutely smashing it since joining Burn. 3-2 for the big man.
Yeah.
So, another classic case, isn't it, of somebody coming to Wrexham and not, especially up top, and then completely losing their shooting boots before going on somewhere else to show them what they can do. So, delighted for him.
Looking forward to Mo Fowle's prolific late form in the Summer League 2 club coming up in a couple of weeks' time when he goes out on loan for the rest of the season. But yes, thank you everyone for listening. We appreciate it. Remember to go to the Fat Ball, the Buck, the something else.
Croyce Howell.
The Croyce Howell. We all love them. We all know them. Go and eat there. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll speak to you next week. Bye-bye.
You guys.
Cheers.